are done with um we're done with the planning. It's time to lay out our fabric and then see exactly how we are going to cut. Okay, so we are going to be working with miniature measurements. So what I mean by miniature measurements is that it's still the same thing that we calculated. We are still going to be working with width 28, the length and the height. However, I would be working with a smaller version of measurements because I'm working with a smaller version of fabrics. But I would not be changing the measurements so that you guys can understand. What I'll just be doing is to be using the centimeter part of my tape as though I was measuring inches. So, say for example, I want to measure 28 inches. I would be working with it on my cm, on my centimeter. So 28 inches on the centimeter is very small. This is the whole 28 inches. Okay, this is the entire 28 inches. I don't know if you can see it. This is the entire 28 inches. So it's very small. Unlike when you are working with inches, 28 is still here. Is this long. So I'm working with that because I'm working with just a little bit of fabric. Now the fabric I have here, so don't be, I thought to say that so that you won't be confused when you see me using the cm part, but it's still the same measurement I'm taking. So note that whatever I'll be doing is looking small, but it's still the same thing. And then I'm using this to picture that it's also a 60 inches fabric, but of course you know that this is very small, but it's also a 60 inches fabric. So what I've done here is I've measured three and a half yards of fabric along this part. Okay, 3.5 yards of fabric along this part and 60 inches. So again, just in case you are feeling, why is 60 inches this small? What I measured is 60 cm, but for the purpose of this class, we are calling it inches because I'm working with a small piece of fabric. So I thought say that again so that I won't have to explain again throughout the course of this lesson. Okay. So what I have here is 3.5 inch of fabric. Then I also have another one, 3.5 yard, sorry, 3.5 yard. I also have another one here, 3.5 by 60, 3.5 yards of fabric by 60 inches. Okay, 3.5 yards of fabric by 60 inches. So what I'm going to do is you are expected to join them together. So let's say you bought 7 yards of fabric when you went to the market. Divide them into 3.5, 3.5. Then now this is my 60 inches part. This is my 60 inches part. This is the part that is 60 inches. This part is 60 inches. Okay. And this is the 3.5 yards. So I'm going to go ahead and take selvage to selvage. Selvage is where they measured the 3.5. So selvage to selvage and take it to the sewing machine and join. Okay, so when I join, I'm trying to now increase the length that was 60 inches to 120. Okay, so I'm just going to run it with yeah, so let me just quickly go and join that. All right, so I've gone ahead to go and join. Now when I join, what I have is a O 120 inches. Okay, so here is 60, here is 60. Okay, so I have a O 120 inches. This is the right side, and this is the part that I joined. So what I'll now do is remember my 360-degree circle must be folded into what? Must be folded into 4. So I already have one fold. So when I open and then I close again, I have one fold. Okay, so on the second fold, I want to measure from here because this place is equal. I will just measure. So by the time I fold like this, I already know I have 60 inches here. And you know I need 57.5. We got 57.5 from our calculation. So I know I'm going to have 57.5 here because I already have 60 inches here. Do you understand? So on this part, before I fold, I can't just like fold everything into 4 equally. I am going to waste the fabric. So what I'm going to do is to save my fabric is to go ahead and just from here, this is the length part. I hope you are seeing it. Then from here, I would measure my 57.5. Remember that 57.5 as allowance already. But I can just make it 58. So just in case when I fold, it's not, it chops off some fabric. So when I fold like this, are you seeing it? So whatever I'm doing here, even though I'm working with a small version of fabric, that's why I'm using the exact measurement so that you see whatever excess you have left and how it's going to come out. This is the same thing. Whatever space you are seeing as the small space that is remaining is still the same thing you would have when you are cutting on a full scale. Full scale is you are using the exact inches. Do you understand? So when I fold here, you see that I still have some extra here. And of course, when you're working with inches, what you have here will be more than. So can you see? Now, when I've done that, I'll go ahead, make sure the other side is equal. Okay, make sure the other side is equal and then just lay it flat. So now that the fabric is laid on the floor, um, I have my 57. You might want to confirm it again. On this part, you should have 57.5. Yes. So now I even have exactly 57.5. Remember, I measured 58, but these things happen when you fold. Where you what That's why I just have a little bit extra. So you might want to also confirm here, just in case your hand was not your hand was not straight enough. Now on this part I also have to measure 57.5. But however, note that I have about half-inch joining here, so I can't start my measurement from the tip. I have to start it from where I have this my stitch line where I joined. Okay, so I would measure 57.5 from there. So when I measure, this is where it gets to. Okay, so remember what I said when we're on the board, that you can use a 57.5 to get the round circumference of what you want. Now please note that, like I said before, what I'm doing here is the same thing, the same way you follow. I intentionally did not use a miniature measurement in terms of working with a miniature dress or using the measurement, so that I'll work with a real life measurement so that you see the result. If you are using inches for this as well, this is just the little excess you will have left. So I would want you to try it and let me know the results you get. Okay? It doesn't even have to be a ball gown or a wedding gown. I mean, you can try it with, maybe you are making a gown and you want to make it a ball, maybe prom dress. This also works for it. It gives you a very nice walk. Okay? And then you might also want to ask that, okay, what if I'm working with a train, a wedding gown, a ball gown with an extended train, not detachable train, extended train. You saw a picture that we attached before. That has a different cutting. Okay, that has a different cutting method, and we have a full online class that teaches you how to make this particular ball gown. In fact, that one is extremely detailed. When I say extremely, I mean extremely detailed, because it shows you all the process from bridal consultation to taking measurements to going to the market. The course actually shows you like a trip to the market, seeing different types of bridal fabrics, you know, and then it shows you how to cut from start to finish, how to cut, how to sew, how to iron, how to package. It shows you all of that, and it's an online class, so it means you can take it from anywhere in the world. So from this part where I joined, where my stitch line is, that's where I'm also going to start measuring my radius. All right, so for the radius, you would not measure from the edge of the fabric as well. You measure from where your seam line is starting from. So our radius is 4.5. So I would measure 4.5. Okay, so if you are also interested in a fuller course, the online course shows you how to get started with making a wedding gown by teaching you how to, by the end of that full online wedding dress masterclass, you'll be able to make a wedding gown. Even if you have never made a wedding gown before, you will be able to make a wedding gown. Even if you're a beginner, all you just need to do is to know how to cut and sew. Like you know how to press the machine, you know how to cut and sew. So you would be able to make a wedding gown because it shows you every step. All right. So, but we have a full physical master class, that is a bridal master class for intermediate and advanced designers. So this is not for beginners. The online class captures for beginners. However, the physical class does not capture for beginners. So if you be taking the physical bridal master class, you have to be either an intermediate designer or at least you know how to make a corset, a bustier. So of course, if you know how to make a corset or a bustier, at least basic corset. It doesn't have to be a very detailed corset. If you know how to make basic corset or you know how to make a bustier, then you are good to go. Okay, then you can register for it. So our registration is already ongoing for the physical class. The class starts October 10. So I'm meant to add come up by half inch here. Okay, I'm meant to come up by half inch here for sewing allowance. Remember I explained the reason why I'm coming up by half inch is so that I don't skip sewing exactly on where I measured my waistline. Okay, I'm supposed to sew exactly where I measured my waistline. And of course, I forgot to just measure to confirm exactly on the waistline. Measure, you must have your exact waist measurement. So another tricky thing about working it with a ball skirt, circle skirt, is that sometimes when you measure like this, you might have a different measurement from when you measure like this. So I tend to do the two just to be sure that because of that seems to be like it's inverted. All right, so I'm good to go. So you just measure both. If what you have is more than what you need, then you know you have to just come up a bit. Okay, if what you have is less than what you want, then you come down a bit, then draw your circle again. All right, but when you do your calculation well and right, you should get the exact measurement. You don't need to go up and down. All right, so I'm going to cut um half inch above this waist circumference, which should be my seam allowance. Then you want to ask me, oh, we already added allowance of half inch to this length. I know. So what you can do is you can go ahead at the hem and trim off the half inch, or you can just leave it. Sometimes with this length, if it's just half inch, I tend to leave it because when I'm done making maybe I attach this lower part to the upper part and it's being worn on the dress form. If some parts seem too long, I can trim it before turning with lining, but it's better that I still have enough length allowance than when it's too short. Okay, and besides the half inch, the petticoats can carry it for me, the hoopskirt can carry it for me. All right, so I was talking about the physical bridal masterclass starts on October 10th, and the good part is we have a flash sale coming up on Monday. It comes up on Monday, the 18th of September. The physical masterclass is 150,000, but the flash sale runs for 24 hours on Monday, which means that on Monday you can pay 100,000 naira instead of 150,000 naira, but that payment has to be made on that same Monday. Okay, it has to be made on that same Monday. So but at the same time, let's say there are some of you watching this now and you feel, oh, I can't gather 100,000 naira on Monday. You can make half payment of that 100,000 naira, that's 50,000 naira, to book a slot to get that discount on that same Monday. Okay, so when you book a slot to get this discount, you would, before the end of the week, I think there's a duration of 2 weeks for you to balance up before there's a duration of 2 weeks, yes, for you to balance up. And then if not, if you don't balance up between the 2 weeks, you have to pay the 150,000. Okay. So let's move back to our our cutting. So I'll just notch this place for me to know this is a certain side. All right. So when you open, this is what you have. You are going to have two joining. Okay, you know your normal 360-degree circle would not have any joining, but remember we join now. So you're just going to have to join in 1 year and 1 year. So if I were you, I would just, two things you can do. You can slit out this place open, and this will serve as your zipper allowance. Okay, and this place is going to be in front, but of course you can, oh, I also forgot to say that because this process or technique that I just taught you is going to be a circle skirt that has no pleats. So it's just going, this is the exact waist measurement. Okay. But if you want something that has pleats, that means you are going to, the one that we did 28 divided by 6.28, you are going to multiply by your waist by either 2.5 or 3. So that means you want to do times 2 of your waist or times 2.5 of your waist, just so that you have excess on your waist, you can pleat. All right. So if I was doing that, maybe instead of 28 as my waist measurement, I can do um 28 plus 28, that's 56. Okay, am I right? Yes, that's 56. So I can do 56, that's times 2 of my waist measurement. So it will now be 56 divided by 6.28. So whatever I have there will be the radius I'll use to cut this. So this circle you have here is going to be wider because you now have enough on your waistline to pleat into your upper bodies, into the waistline of your upper bodies. Okay, so but for this is just um for the one without pleats. And another trick you can do again is, if you want it fuller, you are doing a double circle skirt, you can cut. So the way you cut this, you cut another circle again like this. So that means you will need 14 yards for that one. If you are doing a double circle, you need 14 yards. So the same way you did this, you do the same thing for that one. And then you slit open one part on one of the circle, slit open another part on the other part of the circle, and join them together. So that's like you doing a 720-degree circle skirt, which is going to give you a fuller effect. And then by the time you add your petticoats, your hoop skirts, it gives a very, very full effect. Okay, so like I said you can slit this place open, and this place will serve as your zipper allowance. Here is going to be in front, but of course you press it very well. If you want to add lace to cover it up, you can do that, or the folding that comes from the fullness of your skirt can also cover it up. Another thing you can do is to make the seam lines be on the side, and then you have to slit open one part here that will serve as your zipper allowance. Okay, but if you are doing that, ensure to add that measurement before you do the calculation for your radius, so you add the zipper allowance there. All right, so whichever one, so it means that your front will still be complete, there will be no joining there. So whichever one you want, at the end of the day, this is the fullness that you would have. Okay, so you see, even if it's going to be in front, you see this is the seam line, but the fullness of the skirt still covers it up. That's why it doesn't look like you are seeing any seam line. Unlike when you are joining and then the joining is coming like this, because this piece is the part that was not enough, so you now join like this. It's not, they don't do this in bridal. Feel free to ask your questions.